So, have you ever woken up, glanced at the news, checked your inbox, looked at the chaotic family calendar, and just felt totally paralyzed? Yeah, it's a super common modern feeling, that heavy sensation of infinite, overwhelming responsibility. But what if I told you reality isn't actually asking you to process the entire universe before you even have your morning coffee? Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to break reality down into simple, actionable steps using a really fascinating framework called the responsibility queue. Let's dive in. To really set the stage here, let's look at a quote from Hunter S. Thompson. Yesterday's weirdness is tomorrow's reason why. I mean, that perfectly hits the nail on the head, right? It captures the paralyzing problem of modern life. We're basically all juggling a billion historical and future quests, and they're all running at exactly the same time. The past is crashing into the present, the future is demanding our attention, and it feels like we're supposed to just solve all of it all at once. It is absolutely exhausting. Okay, so take a look at the actual responsibility queue framework here. And yeah, I know, you might be looking at the sheer scale of this thing and thinking, whoa. It looks like this massive, intricate blueprint for some alien spaceship engine. It is detailed, it is dense, and honestly, it might look a little overwhelming right off the bat. But hey, don't worry. My goal in this explainer is to take this exact map and break it down for you into bite-sized, incredibly accessible little pieces. All right, level 1, the responsibility queue. The core rule here is surprisingly simple. You really only have to interact with what is accessible right in front of you. That's it. To get a grip on how we actually process what's accessible, let's look at this comparison. On the left side, we've got an actual kitchen. On the right side, a hand-drawn map of that kitchen. There is a massive, absolutely crucial difference between reality itself and our representation of it. I mean, a map is incredibly useful if you're trying to find out where someone hid the chocolate chip cookies, right? But if you try to literally eat the map, you're going to have a really bad time. The map is just a representation. It is not the actual kitchen. So this brings us to 3 distinct levels we need to think about. First, the referent. That's the real thing, the actual physical kitchen or an actual person. Second is the representation. This is our map, our memory, maybe an AI model of that thing. And finally, accessibility. That's simply what we can actually reach or know right in this moment. The key takeaways here is that real presence doesn't require exhaustive knowledge. Think about a photograph of your best friend. That picture doesn't contain every single thought they've ever had in their entire life, but you still know them. You can know something truly without having to know it completely. Which brings us to this really wonderful juxtaposition. We have that Hunter S. Thompson quote about things getting weird, but it's framed right on the structured doors of a church. This isn't just some quirky design choice. It makes a really profound point. Our messy, weird histories, our past choices, our wild mistakes, our unpredictable paths, they actually generate the very possibilities we're going to face tomorrow. Moving on to level 2, history modifies accessibility. The big idea here? Tomorrow is literally generated from a present that already contains all the consequences of yesterday. The source material uses this brilliant video game analogy to explain this, and I love it. Imagine 2 players standing in Castle Room 12. Their coordinates are identical. On paper, they are in the exact same place. But let's say yesterday, player 1 befriended the dragon and fixed the bridge. Player 2, well, they poked the dragon with a stick and completely burned the bridge down. They're standing in the same room, sure, but they have entirely different futures available to them now simply because of their history. That brings us to level 3, preserving blanks and errors. Since our past choices so heavily shape our future map, what exactly are we supposed to do when we make a wrong choice? To illustrate this, let's look at a real-world mismatch from the source material. The author typed in the date 7/10, and AI looked at that and interpreted it as July 10th on the Gregorian calendar, which, funny enough, happened to be his daughter's birthday. But the author actually meant the biblical 10th day of the 7th month, also known as the Day of Atonement. Now, the AI wasn't being stupid here. It was just running on a different hidden coordinate system. By preserving that wrong turn, by not just deleting the mistake, they exposed a hidden assumption and actually learned how to communicate better. And that leaves us with this golden rule. If you don't know something, leaving a blank space is scientifically and historically way better than just faking an answer. We have to preserve the receipt of our learning. Think about it, a perfectly cleaned up history where everybody just magically understood everything on the very first try. Sure, it might look impressive on paper, but it teaches you absolutely nothing about how to actually fix things when they break in the real world. All right, level 4, freedom to choose and change. So how does this entire system apply to flesh and blood, real people who make messy choices every single day? Consider this famous biblical parable. A father asks his 2 sons to go work in the vineyard. The first son says no, straight up. But then, later on, he changes his mind and actually does the work. The second son says yes, but then never actually bothers to go. Now, at a purely task-based level, obviously the first son is the one who succeeds. But on a relational level, it proves something much deeper. It shows us that an initial state, or even an initial refusal, doesn't lock you into this permanent, unchangeable identity. You are always allowed to reconsider and pivot. This brilliantly illustrates the core philosophy. As the author puts it, Dad wants daughters, not Roombas with lawn attachments. I love that line. It really humanizes the whole theory. Reality, in all of its messy complexity, prefers free agents who can learn and fail and change. It doesn't want automatons that just blindly execute flawless, pre-programmed commands. Your freedom is exactly what makes the final choice to do good actually mean something. Let's look at level 5, blindness and correctability. Look, freedom obviously comes with risks, right? And the absolute greatest epistemic danger we face is false confidence. Let's imagine two people are looking for a purple elephant in a room. The first person says, "You know what? I don't see it yet. Help me look." That person can be guided. They're open. The second person says, "I already see everything perfectly, and trust me, there is no elephant." Well, when that elephant inevitably walks by and knocks over a lamp, the second person just assumes the lamp malfunctioned. Claimed completeness of sight totally obstructs your ability to be corrected. Knowing that you don't see everything is what keeps you open to the truth. The minute you declare yourself completely finished, you've sealed yourself off from reality. And now for the climax of the framework, Level 6, Executable Grammar. How do we navigate infinite complexity without carrying around a billion-page instruction manual? Well, consider these binary inputs: truth versus deception, serve versus dominate, love versus hate, receive versus exclude, forgive versus vengeance. These aren't just abstract philosophical ideas. Think of them as executable inputs. They dynamically constrain endlessly novel and complicated life scenarios. So you don't actually need a highly specific rule for how to handle, say, a dispute on social media in the year 2047, as long as you can apply the foundational grammar of truth and serve to whatever screen is right in front of you. But here's the catch. You don't just memorize these rules like a fortune cookie. You have to learn the pattern by seeing it executed in real action. And then you run that pattern yourself when things get messy. In the Christian framework detailed in the source, Jesus is presented as this executable grammar, made flesh. He demonstrates service by literally washing feet, not just by standing at a podium giving a lecture on leadership. The grammar literally has to be lived out to be fully understood. Finally, we arrive at the ultimate goal: the handoff. The entire point of the responsibility queue is remarkably simple. You receive it, you correct what you can, and you hand it forward. So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a question to chew on. Just for a second, look away from the overwhelming infinite universe and look directly at what is locally, physically right in front of you. What is the very next accessible quest in your queue today? And when you finish it, who will you hand the results to? Take responsibility for that one thing, and just watch how it changes tomorrow's map.